Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Nicolette Hodge, and this is We Reflect the Light. Sisters and brothers, the war in the Middle East is intensifying as the days go on. Iran is not letting up, and we know exactly how this war is going to turn out. Understand that we are transitioning from the winter season to the spring season. And in that transition from the winter to the spring, we see severe storms, thunder, and lightning. They say that, April showers bring May flowers. So this example that I'm giving, this thunder, this lightning, these wars that are happening, specifically the war in the Middle East, is part of that transition from the winter season into the spring season. Now, in the winter season, the devils are the ones in authority, the ones who are, what's the word I'm looking for, sisters and brothers? They're the ones who are placed as the ones who are in charge during that season. They're the ones who are, because we control everything, sisters and brothers. So I'm trying to make sure I get the right word for this. However, the point of the matter is they're the ones running that season or managing the winter season. And in the spring season, we're the ones in control. We are the ones in authority. So what we see with these wars, the war in the Middle East, this is a good thing, sisters and brothers. This is good for us. And it's our job to stay in sync with the time period by moving, getting the knowledge and the understanding that's needed so that we can move into the next season unharmed, so that we can continue living. So the war in the Middle East is already having global consequences. It's causing a global domino effect. And the outcome of this war is going to change this reality. So we are witnessing all things being made new. When you move into the spring season, there is no evidence of the winter whatsoever. But in the winter season, it's real bad. It's cold. It's snow everywhere. It's ice storms. And however, when the spring comes in, it's as if winter never even existed. So we're in that transition period right now. Right now, we're witnessing these thunderstorms, this lightning and shaking, all this instability around the planet. And everything is coming to a head. So we know exactly how this war is going to turn out, sisters and brothers. We have been on post for the last 5 years letting you know that there would be a war in the Middle East. Letting you know that they're not going back to the JCPOA deal. Letting you know that when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction will come. So no matter what they say on the news, America is spreading all kinds of propaganda and lies and confusion so that you do not clearly identify what's going on and the part that you have in this. So We are given the participants of the war in the Middle East. We are given information on who's aligned on each side. And we are given the outcome. And with that information, we are also being kept several steps ahead of these devils because we know what's going to happen before it happens. Therefore, we can move accordingly and avoid the deadly attack that America is going to make on all blacks. So let's identify the war from the unsealed scriptures of Revelations, which is the angel, which has been unsealed by the breaker of the seven seals, Daniel the prophet. And occurred war in the heaven. The Michael and the angels of him, of the to war with the dragon, and the dragon warred in the angels of it, and not it proved strong. Not but place was found of them yet in the heaven, and was thrown, the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err, the being inhabited whole. He was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. All right, sisters and brothers. We are given a location. We are given participants. And we are given the outcome. Understand that heaven is the Middle East. So the war in heaven is the war in the Middle East. And scriptures is telling us that Michael and his angels are going to war with the dragon and his angels. And that the dragon and his angels will be defeated by Michael and his angels. And the dragon and his angels be thrown out of the Middle East. So Michael is our God, Master Farad Muhammad. And his angels is our brothers Iran and Syria. Michael and his angels are fighting on our behalf, sisters and brothers. They are original. Their father is an original black man. Therefore, they are a part of the original nation. However, keep in mind that there's other nations that are original that are also our enemies. So that right there, having an original that paternal doesn't, keep in mind that that's not the only factor in someone being an ally or that's not the only factor as far as that bloodline goes. So I'll just leave that right there, however, because, and I say that because we have the African nation, they're our enemies, however, they're original. And so Ishmael, the Sunni Arabs, they're original, however, they are totally against us. They are our enemies. So understand that the scriptures identifies that Master Farad Muhammad is faithful and true. He is our God. And our brothers Iran and Syria are in sync with our vision, which is the Abrahamic covenant. So staying on track with this specific point that's being made here, Michael and his angels will be victorious in this war in the Middle East, and the dragon and his angels, which is the House of Saud, America, Britain, and false Israel, will lose this war. Now, what does this have to do with us, sisters and brothers? The outcome of this war in the Middle East will have many different effects on the whole world, specifically the original nation. When Iran wins the war, they will take control of our holy sites and our oil, which right now, Saudi Arabia, the House of Saud, which is sitting on our land, Arabia, they're controlling our oil. That's the dragon. And the dragon is fueling its angels, which are America, Britain, and false Israel. So the dragon's angels gets their oil from the House of Saud. And America's economy is 100% relying on that oil from the Middle East, which they're getting from the House of Saud, which is the dragon. So when the dragon and his angels lose this war, where will that put America's economy, sisters and brothers? And us, we're being held captive here in America in the land of our imprisonment. So how will that affect us? When Iran wins this war, they are going to totally cut off America's oil supply. Now, we are already feeling the effects of the war in the Middle East with Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz, causing America's oil prices to rise higher and higher as the days go on. Understand that without oil, America's economy is destroyed overnight, because oil is the backbone, it's the lifeblood of this industrial complex that these devils have built. So understand that we got these devils exactly where we want them, sisters and brothers. It says Allah is the best of planners. So while they think they have all of these plans in place, just the mere fact that we know their plans tells you that we are the ones in control of what's going on here, because we have foreseen, the scriptures are telling us what's going to happen before it happens. And so we are reflecting this light on you, sisters and brothers, so that you can be aware and know that you are the gods and the goddesses of the universe. It says maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, gods and goddesses of the universe. There's nothing that these devils are doing that we are not aware of. And so America, Britain, and the House of Saud are about to get kicked out the Middle East. They're about to lose this war. They're begging for a ceasefire. There will not be a ceasefire. Iran is going to turn off America's oil supply. Total economic destruction. No food, no water, no electricity, nothing. All resources that's needed to run an economy will vanish. And famine will strike America immediately. So we must understand, sisters and brothers, that us being here in America, we're going to be affected by this famine that's going to strike America. Now, America has changed all kind of laws within the U.S. Constitution. They have made all kinds of amendments. However, they will not touch that 3/5 human clause classifying all blacks as animals. And animals can be eaten. Animals are meat. So they have us classified as food. So in a time of famine, what do you think these devils are going to do to us? And they haven't missed a meal in 400 plus years. They have been stealing from every nation. And they have been kicking it. America has so much food waste and to go from having all of this food at your fingertips, all of these fast food restaurants, DoorDash, Uber Eats, you're able to get food at the snap of a finger. So to go from one extreme to the next, these devils lack discipline. They miss lunch and they're ready to shoot up the job. They teach us to eat 6 meals a day, and these are things that is against our nature. However, that's how they function. So they're constantly used to eating around the clock. So to go from having so much food at your fingertips that you're wasting food to the point of no food at all, how will they respond to that? And where does that put us at? These are questions that must be asked, sisters and brothers. These devils are going to make an attack on us. Not only because of the famine that's about to strike America, however, because of who we are. False Israel claims that they are God's chosen people. The scriptures gives a criteria, a description of God's chosen people, of the true seed of Abraham, which false Israel claims they are the seed of Abraham. However, this war will reveal their true, which is being revealed right now. Will reveal that they're not the seed of Abraham. They are the seed of the devil. They are the synagogue of Satan. Excuse me, sisters and brothers. So false Israel claims to be God's chosen people. However, they don't have any facts, any proof to back up their claim. So let's keep moving, sisters and brothers.
Seen this? Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
I'm going to start it over, sisters and brothers.
Why don't we do genetic?
Have you seen this?
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct?
Have you seen this?
Abram's descendants are the ones who have the right to have this land, correct? Yes. Okay. Why don't we do genetic testing on everybody in the land and find out who Abram's descendants are? It's really simple. We've cracked the human genome. We can do that. Why don't we do that? Would you be against doing that?
I have no idea what that would prove. I mean,
Really?
maybe it would be.
What do you mean? What it would prove who Abram's descendants are and who has a right to live here and who doesn't, according to the theology that you yourself just explained. And so I'm very confused as to why we don't do that. If you believe the theology that you just explained to me,
Would we do that all over the world? And everybody
this is the
would
only
the
country in
Brits?
the world that you've said has this covenant with God, that this people have a moral and legal right to the land.
But there are people who may not have bloodlines, but who have converted to Judaism. Are they going to be able to live here? Are you going to kick them out?
By your standards, they can't live here.
Oh, no,
Because you
no,
just
never
told
said-
me
no,
that
no.
they have a right to live here because God gave them the land because they're the descendants of Abram.
The descendants of Abraham. But if they're the spiritual descendants of Abraham and they've now decided that they're converting to Judaism, then do they have a right to live in Israel?
Since you began this conversation by asking me, did I think they had a right to come here?
Yeah, that's what
My question
Zionism is.
was, on what basis do they have the right? And
And
you
I'm trying
said
to-
because God granted it to
Yeah,
them.
and I also said because that there should be a land where Jews could live in peace and safety.
And I asked you what a Jew was, and you couldn't answer it. You said it partly is religious, but doesn't have to be. It's partly genetic, but it doesn't have to be. And so that you can see why I'm.
I think I was very clear.
BB's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense?
ancestrally- but
How do we know
ancestrally-
that? Do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
He doesn't. No one does. That's the point.
But
so
if
how do
there
we
is-
know that
but
he's
if
any
they
connection
are
to this land at
Jewish,
all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language,
But
the
he
Bible,
doesn't-
the land,
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
All right, sisters and brothers. Who is the true seed of Abraham? And how can it be proven? As you can see, false Israel, when put under the spotlight, cannot answer, cannot prove that they are the seed of Abraham. The seed of Abraham, understand that the father carries the seed, therefore the child, which is the seed, has the same bloodline as the father. So the seed of Abraham is going to have the same bloodline as Abraham, which this devil just admitted himself that those who are claiming to be the seed of Abraham and claiming to have this covenant with God do not have the same bloodline. And he's trying to make an excuse. However, that is a lie, saying that those who practice Judaism and all this BS, it's very clear, sisters and brothers, the seed is the bloodline. So they themselves are admitting that they are not who they claim to be. It's about the seed. It's about the bloodline. So who fits that description of Abraham's seed, sisters and brothers? In the book of Genesis, we are given a clear description of Abraham's seed. We are told what Abraham's seed would endure, how long, where at, for how long. And we are also given certain details so that there is no question, no room for error about identifying who Abraham's seed truly is. So let's keep moving. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be sojourners. So understand that the seed is the bloodline. Shall be sojourners. That means temporary, in a land that is not theirs. And shall serve them, and they shall afflict them. So that's two things right there, servitude and affliction. For how long? For 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. So right there, we're told that Abraham's seed, which the word here is Abram, which is a hint right there to let you know that his seed, Ham, will be separated from him during this time period. So we are told exactly what Abram's seed would endure. Enslavement and affliction in a strange land that is not ours for 400 years. False Israel doesn't fit that description. So sisters and brothers, this is clear proof. This is evidence of who we are, because we are the only ones on the planet who fit this description, sisters and brothers. And it shares know of a surety, so that there's no maybe or might be. This is a definite. And understand that this is our true history. This is the true history of the original black man and original black woman right here in North America. This is not our land. So we have been sojourning in this strange land that is not ours. The 400-year time period went from 1619 to 2019. And how can we verify that, sisters and brothers? The very next book after Genesis is Exodus. And Exodus comes in with a plague that passes over the true seed of Abraham, those with the blood of the Lamb, which the Lamb himself is the true seed of Abraham. So those who have the blood of the Lamb, that identifies that they have the same bloodline as the Lamb. So they are also the true seed of Abraham. So 2020 came in with a plague, and it passed over us. However, it dropped these devils like flies, severely staggering their numbers. COVID-19 killed off a large number of the European, Caucasian population all over the world. So false Israel claims to be the true seed of Abraham, yet the plague did not pass over them. That plague passed over God's chosen people. Now understand that there's other details within that, because some of our original sisters and brothers who had bad health passed away from COVID. However, understand that there were quite a few Black people who died from COVID, and that gets into identifying the fact that all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and the fact that half of the Blacks right here in America are really Europeans and Black skin from the relentless rape of the original Black woman for the last 400 years. And so we are dealing with wolves in sheep's clothing amongst us, confusing us. So when COVID hit and you see all these Black people that were dying from it, those were not really original people. Those were Europeans and Black skin. They did not have the blood of the Lamb. Therefore, the plague did not pass over them either. So this is how these devils trick us and have us scared and in a state of panic simply by not knowing our true identity. See how that works, sisters and brothers? So because you don't know you're the true seed of Abraham, COVID hits and you're scared, which the messenger of the covenant and those of us reflecting the light told you, don't worry about the plague. The plague is not for you, sisters and brothers, it's passing over you. And even these devils knew that. So they went and produced a jab and mandated it. And the jab is what hurt our people and caused a lot of our people to pass away from the side effects of the jab, with all the blood clots and organ failure and organ damage, what have you. So understand that this is the light that you need to survive, sisters and brothers, and without this light, you will be totally lost. Something as simple as not knowing your true identity. Not knowing that you have a vision, which we'll get into our vision on the next shortly. However, not knowing who you are and where you're going, and these devils know, because that's part of them dealing with us shrewdly. That's part of them tricking us. However, something that simple as knowing who you truly are and knowing that you have a vision Without it, you're going in the wrong direction, sisters and brothers. So this is how we verify the 400-year time period. Because 2020 came in with a plague, signaling that the judgment of that nation that we served, that afflicted us, has started. And they are still dealing with COVID to this day. And they have many more plagues to come. That was just the tip of the iceberg. They are in judgment right now. So it says, also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. That means they are not getting away with a damn thing. There is no forgiveness. It shares, and afterwards they shall come out. Come out. We were already told that we're sojourning. That means temporarily residing somewhere. Then we are told that we're going to come out with great substance. Then thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Go to where? These are subtle hints within the scriptures letting us know that we are leaving America. Our father Abram is not from America. We're going to the same place that our father Abram was in when he had this vision of horror of what we would endure. And that's exactly what happened. Because it shared no of a surety. Again, this is not a question or a maybe. This is our history, and our history is documented facts. It's verifiable. We don't have to go off of anyone's word. We have the proof. It's been recorded, sisters and brothers. And in the fourth generation, it shares, thou shalt be buried in a good old age. And in the fourth generation, understand that we are in the fourth generation right now. They shall come hither. Hither means return again. For the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. So, sisters and brothers, why is it that they're not identifying our true history? Why are they only talking about the servitude part? Why are they saying that we were slaves for 400 years, but they're not talking about the affliction that we endured? When all of that is clearly identified in this description of what Abraham's seed endured. Let's keep moving. The true name for our experience is called the Holocaust. Slavery was only 1%. The affliction that we endured is the other 99%. Therefore, the Holocaust is the proper term for our experience. Why don't they teach us about the Holocaust? Why don't they talk about the Holocaust during Black History Month? Why do they call our experience a critical race theory, when by definition, a theory may or may not be correct? There's nothing theoretical about the Holocaust, sisters and brothers. So they're lying to us about our history in an effort to prevent the judgment which has already started. And they did all of these things to us throughout the Holocaust, which we'll get into those details in a moment. They did all of these things to us. Scripture says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So that means that we are the ones to judge them. And we are told to give them back, give them double. So if they can prevent you from knowing your true history, then you're not looking for revenge. You're not looking to judge those who have wronged you because you don't remember. And what they do tell you is a whitewashed version, a total lie. And what they show you on the movies does not accurately represent us because they're showing you their house Negroes. So understand that this is a concentrated effort to prevent their judgment from an action that they have already performed on us. And for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So they are not getting out of anything. They already did it. We're going to highlight the sacrifice and the 400-year investment that the original Black woman has made in Abraham's seed. While we were in the fields taking care of the economic situation for this season of winter that we have been in, these devils afflicted us. They maintained their system of capitalism, maximum profit, so getting the maximum free labor out of us, while giving us just enough to survive. So they had to feed us something. We couldn't just, which they did starve us to death in a lot of cases. However, they fed us shitlins. The minimum overhead. And they put a quality to that time period of servitude. So the affliction identifies how they conducted themselves towards us. So as we were serving them, they were afflicting us. That's how they maintained that system of capitalism. They maintained slavery with horror. Why? Know a tree by the fruit it bears. If these devils were holy, righteous people, then they would have done holy, righteous things to us. However, they gave a quality to our experience according to who they are, according to their nature. And they are weak, wicked beast. The Supreme Wisdom Lessons identifies that they are skunks of the planet Earth. So they did all kind of filthy things to us. Forcing us to give birth to their devil seed that they camouflaged amongst the original nation, forcing themselves into our wombs, raping us day in and day out, taking something that does not belong to them. Raping somebody is a coward move, sisters and brothers. We did not desire these devils. We didn't want any intimacy with them. We did not consent to carrying their seed. They forced us to do it. They stole our wombs and made us produce a nation of devils in black skin. This is what they want us to forget. And they play all these mind games, sisters and brothers. Understand that they have been playing in our face for the last 400 years. Telling us that one drop of black blood makes you black. However, they themselves know that the father carries the seed, therefore the child has the same bloodline and the same nature as its father. So by putting their seed into our wombs, they knew that they were producing an entire group, an entire race of devils in black skin, in an effort to totally destroy the true seed of Abraham. They did not allow us to have families. They did not allow us to procreate with our own man. They castrated our men. Not only did they rape us, they also raped our men and our boys, sodomizing them around the clock, totally humiliating them in front of us, reinforcing that psychological fear and trauma. However, as I have explained before, sisters, this is not a sob story. You must know your history so that you can understand who you are and understand your vision and know that you have a reward. These devils went to war with us. And we defeated them. They went to war against Abraham's seed, specifically trying to wipe our seed out of existence. And our sisters, we went into overdrive, if you will. Standing up for our nation in a time of need, doing what needs to be done without anyone having to tell us. We saw what these devils were doing to us. And we were looking ahead. And we knew that our sacrifice, the charity that we made for our nation right there while we were in the fields, would carry us through for the next 400 years. So we saved our nation. And how did we do that? While under the threat of death, and not just any death, a very painful death that involved us being tortured, dismembered, dying in agonizing pain if Massa found out that we were sneaking to go reproduce with our own man, the original black man. If they found out that we were, or even suspected that we were pregnant with Abraham's seed, they would torture us into death. Or take our babies, cut them out of our bellies, and go feed them to alligators. Your sacrifice, your works, sisters, have not gone unnoticed. They call us the angry black woman. However, they don't want to identify why it is that our sisters are so angry. You have been overworked and underappreciated. However, the angel identifies that you have a reward. The Abrahamic covenant, let me see how to say this, sisters and brothers. The Abrahamic covenant identifies our reward. However, it's the angel that identifies that balance for this time period, because there's a balance to every season. However, up until us coming in contact with the angel, sisters, you may have not even realized that you have anything to be honored for. You may have not understood that you have made a sacrifice to our nation, because they were trying to totally eradicate Abraham's seed, and we did not allow them to be successful. They wanted everyone to be devils. Out of half of the blacks in America, 34 million blacks, 17 million are devils in black skin. We did not allow them to be successful in their mission to destroy our seed. They wanted all 34 million blacks to be devils in black skin. We wasn't having it, and we're still not to this day. So the fact that Abraham's seed is still alive is evidence of your 400 years investment to ensure that the Abrahamic covenant will be fulfilled. So you have done an excellent duty in participating in the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant, sisters. So let's keep moving. Let's get into the Abrahamic covenant. And right before we do that, I want to identify this Jesus lie. They told us to believe in Jesus, and that if we didn't, we were going to burn in hell forever and ever and ever. Jesus has got the same appearance as Massa. The name Jesus was nowhere in the original manuscripts. It's a made-up term and it's mystical. Jesus never existed, but they used that as part of the psychological torture to keep us in a state of fear so that we would obey them. Why is this important, sisters and brothers? These devils have us participating and I'm speaking about whole, because some brothers and sisters might hear this and say, well, I'm not Christian. They have the original nation waiting on a spook god, praying to a mystery. When we are the gods and goddesses, that's going to make our success happen. When we were in the fields, they told us, they traumatized us with this Jesus lie. However, Jesus does not exist. So now we have some of our sisters in the church trying to save their family, not even realizing that it's all an illusion put in place to lock you in fear. and to keep us frozen in that fear as they make their move to destroy our nation, which they will not be successful. So, sisters and brothers, we're not sitting around praying to no mystery God. Understand that Jesus never existed. Joshua, the Messiah, is the one that's in the original manuscripts. And he's the one to lead us home to our promised land. So understand that we have also been, not only have they been at war with our seed, we are also in a mind war. They have us operating off of their mind. However, it's time to get our mind back. So, sisters and brothers, what is the Abrahamic covenant? In that day, God made a covenant with Abram, saying, "Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates." All right. This is the covenant that belongs to Abraham's seed. The seed is the bloodline. And those two rivers are not in America, sisters and brothers. So where is the land at that's in between these two rivers? When you look on a map, you'll see that Arabia is our promised land. And it's more than a promise. This is God's sure and volatile word to place us in our own land. So false Israel claims to be us. However, they're in Jerusalem. They are not in Arabia. And they're there abominably destroying the Palestinians. So they're in a land they're not supposed to be, claiming to be somebody that they're not, while exposing who they truly are, which is Satan. So once you understand your true identity, sisters and brothers, all these other details and nuances start coming in to focus. Then you understand why this war in the Middle East is about us. This is our vision, sisters and brothers, and they are trying to prevent the fulfillment of our vision, which is the Abrahamic covenant. A vision gives us something to unite under. One common vision, one destination. They don't want that. A people without a vision perish, and that's exactly what they want us to do, is perish. They put the American dream on us. It's an illusion, sisters and brothers. We don't want to stay in the land of our imprisonment. So anyone who's trying to push reparations on you and convince you to stay here in America is a damn liar and an enemy to the original black man and original black woman right here in America who already put in that 400-year sacrifice. Yet Farrakhan and the rest of these so-called black leaders are telling you that you don't have a reward. So we must understand that the Abrahamic covenant is at the center of this war in the Middle East. The Abrahamic covenant is what's driving this, if you will. And they're fighting tooth and nail to prevent the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant. So, sisters and brothers, the Abrahamic covenant is our vision. Our promised land, Arabia, is our destination. So this is a free gift because you have already earned it, sisters and brothers. And now it's time for us to get out of America, make our exodus. So with that, sisters and brothers, that brings this segment to a close, and I'll be back with more. Assalamu alaikum.